Hello everyone, Marco Montemagno here, Digital Domination Summit 2013. With me, Brett Garlinghouse, CEO of Yousendit. Hi Brett, how are you going?
Marco, it's going great. Thanks for having me.
So Brett, the first point that I want to start from is the reason why I choose Yousendit to be here, and it's a very interesting story because I was talking with my staff, and they proposed, to be honest, other companies in the cloud business. They talk about Dropbox and Box and so on, and then I went deeper into the numbers, and I saw that Yousendit, from the numbers that I saw, but correct me if I'm wrong, is 3 times bigger than Box, for instance. And I thought, gosh, it's amazing, this news and hype that often come out from Silicon Valley, as it doesn't really respect the facts. So I said, no, let's go with Yousendit. They get big numbers. They are an historical company, and they're doing a lot of things, not only sending large file anymore. And so here we are.
Well, absolutely. I appreciate you doing that. One of the things that's interesting about living in Silicon Valley, and I've been living here for 15 years, it's been a phenomenal opportunity, but one of the things you learn is there's definitely a hype cycle in Silicon Valley. I sometimes refer to it as the Silicon Valley echo chamber. And what we have seen on occasion is the hype around a company gets ahead of its reality. And ultimately, hype and reality have to come into equilibrium at some point.
Yeah.
And what we saw happen with companies like Zynga and Groupon is the hype was way ahead of their reality, and then they went public, and the transparency of the public markets kind of forced the hype and reality to come into balance. And that was a painful process. I feel incredibly fortunate. We have a business. We have now 42 million registered users.
Wow.
That has continued to grow nicely. We had a record April, a record first quarter. We signed customers, ranging from Nike to Ping to Ryder, the PGA. So we've continued to have a ton of momentum, and feel like if we can continue to execute well, we'll have a great future, regardless of how the echo chamber reacts.
How is it? You were before in AOL and Yahoo, and now in Yousendit for several months. What's the main difference? I mean, Yousendit from the external perception, I think Yousendit is a solid business. And still the name is a little bit enigmatic because people only think about sending large file, but we'll talk about that, how it's changing the business. But how was coming in Yousendit, considering your previous experiences?
Yeah, well, I always felt like I was, inside these larger organizations. I always tried to adopt and manage in a very entrepreneurial way, and empowering people and giving them plenty of rope. And I fundamentally believe that a company is a reflection of its people and its culture. And if we can create a culture that embraces risk and tolerates failure, we'll have great outcomes. So it's been a really great, rewarding experience. I think many people who work at large companies have experienced the amount of time you spend on things that aren't about the customer. They aren't about kind of moving the ball forward for the business and for the customer. And so for me, it's been great to be at a small company where we can really focus on delivering amazing customer outcomes.
Right. I was talking with Seth Godin recently, one of the speakers at Digital Domination Summit, and he kept on telling, try to find your customer, start from your customer, and then build the product around him. Find your ideal customer. But in your case, I mean, you have to handle the private user and the Fortune 500 companies, so totally different needs. How can you find your ideal customer in this scenario?
Yeah, first of all, I think Seth's one of the smartest guys in the business when it comes to thinking about that. So I'm sure that's a great interview. I'll look forward to watching it. But for me, it's very much, we start with a use case. How are people needing to share and collaborate given the transition to mobile? For us, it's been, mobile has been a huge new tailwind to the business. We started with send. Let's help people solve the management and movement of large files. And then we found ourselves in a position where people wanted to access those files on a mobile device. They wanted secure access to that. They wanted control of those documents. And so, we really thought about whether it's a Fortune 500 company or it's, the architect firm down the street, they really have a lot of similar use cases to how they are interacting and managing files, right, given how the overall landscape has changed. And that's the landscape, I mean, the introduction of tablets, the introduction of Android and iOS. I think it's been a pretty profound change in how people want to store, access, and manage their data.
Yeah, I said before, Brad, that people still think about Yousendit as the company to send large file, probably because of the name. So my propose is change the name, give a different name to make the people understand that it's not only sending large file, but is all the cloud business and storage, and so Yousendit now is taking care of so many stuff. So if you want to call it Montemagno or something like that, I'll be happy of giving you this my name in without copyright asking.
A small license fee to Montemagno or Digital Domination. I'm sure we can work out a deal. No, I mean, listen, I completely agree with your core point here. Yousendit has been a fabulous name for the history of the company. But if you look at where we are today and where we're going, it really is a name that has outgrown itself. We do so much more than just send today. And we look at our goals for intergalactic domination. It's a name that constrains us in some ways. And so we are going to change the name of the company in the not too distant future. Maybe 90 days, we plan to roll out a major upgrade to the products, the user experience, but also a new brand that better reflects who we are and where we're going.
Brad, are all the companies going into the cloud and that's it, period? Or is, someone say no, but cloud is still problematic with privacy and security and this kind of things. So there are areas and sectors that better not to put their data in the cloud. What's your vision about that?
Well, I think, as is the case with a lot of industries, different segments of the industry are more aggressive in their early adopter status versus the kind of, classic crossing the chasm into the mainstream. And I think we're certainly seeing that in the adoption of cloud-based tools, cloud-based services. We're fortunate to see, our core market really has been the creative professional, whether that's a photographer, an architect, somebody working with CAD CAM files. That has been our core market, and they've been early adopters of a lot of these tools because it helps them get their job done. But as I mentioned, some very large Fortune 500 companies. We count some of the largest Fortune 50 companies in the United States as customers, and we see more and more companies recognizing that there's a fundamental shift happening, and that's everywhere from the boardroom to the entry-level worker. The fundamental nature of how mobile is driving some of these changes affects everyone. And so I think there will be laggards because of concerns about security. But I think if you look forward 10 years, let's say, as this adventure plays out, I think you're going to see it affect, really all companies pretty dramatically.
I heard you talking about cloud-gnostic, this word that is becoming a buzzword. Could you elaborate on that? Because I think it's a very interesting concept.
One of the things that we have evangelized and kind of as we see the vision for the future, the consumerization of IT, it is clearly continuing to gain widespread adoption within the enterprise. And what that means is we don't believe the future is a single stack of technology solutions. And so you have multiple cloud tools, and we've kind of coined this term. We feel like there's the need for a cloud-gnostic approach to delivering some of these solutions, allowing professionals to locate data and content wherever it lives, regardless of the cloud or the mobile platform that they're working with. And so we acquired a small company earlier this year called Found, and Found is very much indicative of this trend. It allows you to authenticate with various cloud services, whether it's your own hard drive, your private cloud, or Dropbox, or Evernote, or Gmail even as a cloud tool. And it allows you to look and find documents from, if I was looking for a document from Marco, I could look across all those services with one search, and we think the search capability is really just that first step of how do we deliver additional solutions that are cloud-gnostic, because the world is not going to standardize on just one cloud solution. And so we really want to be at that intersection of how to take advantage of the metadata in a way that really works well.
Yeah, Yousendit is growing, keep growing a lot. I think I read somewhere, I don't remember where, that is growing around, I don't know, 30,000, 50,000 users per day or something like that. Is it correct, or is my...
No, that's correct. We have had great tailwinds. Last year, top of mind, we grew from about 30 million registered users to about 40 million registered users.
Okay.
So it's continued to be some really nice adoption. And most importantly, we love to see that our paid customers has continued to grow very nicely. And if you solve real customer problems, your customers will treat you well, and
Right.
that has certainly been the case for us.
But what's your suggestion? What are your tips for customer acquisition strategy? Because a lot of companies in the end struggle with growing, and also in this period is not so easy, crisis everywhere. So what would you recommend that could be a good strategy from your experience, your point of view, to grow in the digital world?
It's a great question, and I won't pretend that it's kind of one size fits all and that everyone has the same approach. But what has served Yousendit incredibly well is the freemium kind of viral adoption model. This has proved very, very successful for us in offering some base amount of functionality and tools for free. And then if you get them engaged and they have a great experience with that, they find, hey, I want more tools, I want more capability. And so we have been successful in upselling. I'll give you one kind of interesting example, because I think the freemium model depends upon solving what I'll call the long tail, but really the bottom up versus top down approach to technology. And instead of going out and hiring hundreds and hundreds of salespeople, we've really counted on delivering a great experience from the bottom up, and we have broad adoption at the lower parts of the organization, and then we go in and talk to the CIO organization. So NBC hosted the Summer Olympics last summer.
Yep.
We actually had 3,000 active users inside NBC during the Olympics.
Wow.
During the 30-day period around the Olympics, they exchanged 3.3 terabytes of data through Yousendit. And that's not a corporate customer. These are individual users who found a tool that helped them get their job done. And we think it's very indicative of, if you get widespread adoption and start that conversation, and then you can go back to the organization and offer administrative controls and tools that they need to get their job done. We use the expression of, we want to be loved by end users, but approved by IT.
All right. Loved by end users, but approved by IT. If it's free from copyright, I will use it again, this sentence. I like it.
Perfect. And I'm going to use your name for the name of our
Creative Commons, I hope it is. Great. No, but it really gives the sense. Another important topic, I just want to be back on security. Is it true that when a big company wants to adopt Yousendit, they send you someone to do a sort of due diligence to verify if you are reliable or not?
Yeah. One of the things that happens when you're signing these kind of Fortune 500 contracts or Fortune 50 contracts, they have a security organization that wants to make sure that our practices, because we're going to be hosting their data, our practices meet their standards. And so they will spend, a couple days on site doing tests, verification of how, everything from encryption of data in transport, at rest, and a whole bunch of ways just in terms of how we manage our security protocols. And so what we say is, our single seat user at a graphic design firm or at a CAD CAM shop, our single seat user gets the same security that Fortune 500 company gets. And it really is, I think, one of the democratizations of enterprise software, that you don't have to pay really expensive enterprise software prices to get the benefit of that security.
What makes the difference then in a scenario where storage is becoming a commodity? So this is not the real value, is not the real value proposition, because you can get everywhere. So what makes the difference? Where do you suggest the company to go in a scenario where everyone could get storage everywhere?
Yeah, it's a really important point you're making, and it's something that we feel pretty passionately about. Storage is a commodity, and the price on storage will continue to come down. And so when we think about building our business, we think a lot about how do we help you as the end user of Yousendit be a smarter employee? How do we help you get your job done? And part of that can be storage, and part of that can be helping you move your files, but it's really going beyond that. And I think if you're only solving the storage problem, that isn't a very interesting problem in the long run.
Okay.
We take a very storage agnostic point of view where, at the end of the day, if a customer has a robust data center and they want to store their data inside their data center, we're actually very much philosophically supportive of that. And we think about how do we layer on our application and our tool set on top of that, independent of storage specific decisions.
Brad, just a couple of questions more. If a company is not in the cloud yet, what's the right process to follow? What if you have a guideline, what are the right steps that you would recommend?
Well, the first thing I would say is I think there's very few companies, they may think they're not using cloud tools, but the reality is that their employees are, whether they do it or not.
That's good.
Employees
That's a good
smart.
point.
The nature of the web has allowed people to access tools of all kinds. And so, there's various examples. I think, there are people just say, hey, I want to use this tool to get my job done, and so I'm going to go use it. Sometimes that shows up on an expense report for €10 or $10 to some company to help them do their job. But I think every company's already been touched by the cloud, whether they know it or not. That being said, you're increasingly seeing site-wide adoption and team adoption of various cloud-based tools. And I think anytime an organization is thinking about a new tool set inside the organization, my counsel would be to make sure to look at what web-based solutions exist, what SaaS-based solutions exist, and include that in the consideration set. Because where the world is going, that's where I think some of the more interesting, robust set of tools are. You can get the ease of use, I think that's true of Yousendit also. You can get the ease of use of your favorite consumer application, your favorite consumer website, but with the security and control and robustness and reliability that you come to expect from expensive enterprise software. You can now have that in one package via SaaS-based tools.
I was curious about your opinion about this moment of recession, depression, crisis, call it as you like, and which is different all over the world. But I see in Europe, obviously, some countries are really struggling at the moment, and what's your suggestion for companies? Because Yousendit, okay, is going great, is in a digital business, but is there any secret sauce or secret formula that would you recommend to company in this specific period that is not really the best period for the market ever?
Yeah, I think for us it has meant let's make sure we are thinking about a global platform and not just one market, because I think that allows us to access customers in lots of different markets. And you do see even today, while there are a number of economies that continue to stagnate a bit or even contract, you're also seeing other markets where you're seeing lots of growth and a lot of vibrancy. And so if you're in a market that has tremendous tailwind and the market is growing, I think it helps mute some of the more temporal dynamics that might be driven by a macroeconomic environment that we're seeing in Europe today. Certainly, I think it is the overall tailwinds of the sea change in how people are storing, accessing, managing their data has served us well, and so we've been able to continue to grow quite nicely despite some of those macro trends.
Right, so having a global view. Your favorite and best 3 tools, 3 apps, 3 websites that you would recommend to make a more efficient business?
A more efficient business. Well, of course, the first one, you have to use Yousendit.
All right. That's a little bit impartial. Or be how to be more productive, or what you really use that you think, gosh, these 3 things.
One of the apps I started using recently that I absolutely love is Sonos, the music system we use in our house. It's just a delight, a great tool set. I tend to be, it's a US-centric answer, but I'm a avid college basketball fan, and some fabulous apps for March Madness that has obviously just finished. But the ESPN, the Watch ESPN app is a phenomenal one. The third thing for me that is a great utility is I have 3 small children, and anything that gives them instant gratification to distract them. I've got a plethora of apps on my phone that are, much more about the kids than they are me, but it still helps my productivity.
That's amazing. We were talking before the interview how, on this phone now, the demographic is completely different because, people of 40, 50, 60 years old, they have a lot of games for kids. And maybe the idea is that people play with the game, but are all the kids. And so kids are really controlling our apps. I agree.
I blame it on my kids, but really secretly I'm playing them.
Angry Birds. Excellent. Brett Garlinghouse, CEO of Yousendit. Brett, thank you so much and good luck for the future.
Thank you very much, Marco. It's great to be here.